Angus cow has provided a living for the Butler family for 100 years, and she has done so through droughts and storms and floods and diseases and generational differences and different genetics. Her resilience is paramount, and it's legendary.
My grandfather bought the first Angus cattle from a neighbor in 1919. He ran them on a piece of property that's up north of us about 20 miles, which is, we call it up in the rocks, and it is literally a rock pile with a little bit of grass here and there. And he had a desert entry grazing homestead up there. Those cattle covered that country and utilized it better than any cattle he'd ever used or seen.
Spring Cove Ranch is a family Angus ranch. Every breeding decision made, every crop planted, every seed planted, every calf born is calved by a Butler. We are responsible for the good decisions we make, and we are responsible for those that don't work out quite as well. We are a family Angus ranch. Art's grandparents, when they were dating in the early 1900s, his grandmother lived in Gooding, just about 20 miles to the east. Arthur would take a saddle horse across country and pick her up, and they would go on dates, horseback riding dates on the desert out here, and they would stop and get a drink from the tin cup in the sagebrush up here where the spring is. That eventually is what the spring that our ranch, is named after. Effie named the ranch Spring Cove Ranch after the spring in the draw, where she and Arthur would have their dates.
I'm the third generation here on this ranch. My dad kept it going, and then he had raised 7 children, and I was the youngest of those 7 children.
Art and I shared the passion for the cattle. I am an organizer, and I don't quit until all the work is done, and I enjoy that. And I think I add that layer of ambition to the equation, sometimes needed. Also, I am a historian. I love history. The history and the story of the ranch has been a story I have been blessed to tell. I feel like it's noteworthy that a family, could survive under all agricultural conditions and the changes that there are with the same cow herd on the same land for 100 years. The Cattleman branch of the Oregon Trail runs across the ranch from the east to the west, and the wagon ruts are still visible. There's a trail marker up there. The Oregon Trail pasture we use all the time. Our cattle run on it, so our cattle run down the Oregon Trail. Art and I are goal-oriented, and we always have to set a target for ourselves before we start, and we gear our decisions based upon that. We wanted to create a bull that would create calves, that would create a consistent higher market for our commercial customers, because in the competitive bull market, our customers need to make money. The best way to do that would be to produce genetics that were going to please the ultimate customer, which is the consumer.
I have a lot of interest in quality cattle, and I was at the university when they lowered the grading standards. And I thought to myself then, I said, why lower the standard when the quality or the satisfaction's coming from that flavorful, high marbling cut of beef? It's something that you can add to these cattle no matter what size and what your goals are as far as productivity, or if you want to maximize yearling growth or whatever, you can add marbling it's a free addition basically. And if you want to keep the cows moderate, you can still add the marbling and have something that's satisfactory in the end and targets the brand.
Data interpretation and data collection is something that Art and I both really, really enjoy. We're both number nerds. In particular, I'm on the computer all the time doing the herd records for over 800 head of registered cows.
The thing about the data is it puts reliability in the estimations.
I love the exactness, yet also the fact that they are a part of a recipe, that you can mix some of this and some of that to come up with what you want to breed. Angus breeders as a whole have the opportunity to use that database to create any mixture, any recipe of an Angus cow that they so choose to fit the environment and their particular environment.
A lot of people think that marbling and fleshing ability is contradictory traits, but with enough animals and enough data and enough pressure, selection pressure, you can enhance the marbling and still get it in a package that you like, that fits your environment.
By targeting the genetics that we're going to meet the specs for certified Angus beef, that is the target that we set. Therein, when we first started studying and following the beef quality audit and realized how few of the black-eyed cattle actually met the visual specifications for CAB, did not meet the carcass quality specifications that was due to marbling, we started searching for bulls that could survive in our Western environment, yet also provide more marbling to the genetic equation. Helping our customers market their cattle, and more than that, trying to help our customers get a premium for the genetics that they've invested in, has been at the forefront of our minds since we started having our bull sale and marketing as many Angus bulls as we do, because the premium that is paid by the consumer at the end needs to trickle down, to the cow-calf man who's actually producing that calf.
I don't know the exact first time when I made the decision to follow carcass traits, but I felt like when we started doing mostly AI in our cow herd, I looked at the carcass data. That was probably late 70s, early 80s. My dad always said to me, he said, someday we're going to get paid for what these black cattle are worth. I grew up here where this country is predominantly Hereford cattle country. Most of the West was, I think most of the nation was actually. Locally here, almost all the cattle were Hereford with a little bit of shorthorn in them. We took a discount to those cattle until the 90s, and then it started to change. And fortunately, Dad kept telling me we're going to get paid for these quality cattle someday. This prophecy came true. That's kind of rewarding. We stayed with the Angus cattle because I just believe there isn't any cattle that can compete with them production-wise and carcass-wise. I think a lot of people are thinking that maybe we're going to saturate this market with high-quality cattle, but I think the demand is only growing, and worldwide, I think a small part of this world eats the premium product like we do, and the others are finding how tasty and how satisfactory it is. They're going to want that as well. I think the future is bright.
I wish that the consumer who sees that logo could see the faces of the family and the hands of the ranchers and the farmers that are producing the product, and could have an insight into the devotion and the husbandry that it goes into producing that product, and also the dedication to genetics and the study and the dedication to animal health, animal welfare, vaccinations, everything from marbling to medicine. Raising my family in an ag environment, in a ranch environment, and around the Angus cattle specifically, has provided a day-to-day touchstone for all things that are real and natural, and has grounded them. Not only are we dedicated to the livestock and their well-being, and we're thinking of someone else's well-being before our own, which I think is always a good thing as far as developing a human. We're also thinking about the land and how we can better the land. The topic of conversation at the table is often stewardship of one thing or another, whether it's a tractor or a cow, the bull or a customer, or the yard.
I think it's the best profession on earth. Care for animals, provide a good protein, nutritious food for the consumer, get to live the lifestyle and live out here in the countryside where there's not a lot of noise other than wind and don't have a lot of people bugging us. That's all the good part of being a cattleman.
I am proud of the enduring love that a family who works together can stay together. I am proud of the enduring faith in a breed of cattle, and the enduring commitment to labor, to hand labor, to building fences and moving cattle, and the commitment to agriculture and to the land and taking care of the land. The endurance of commitment to land and to cattle and to family.